So, herzlich willkommen bei Wein am Limit, liebe Freunde, liebe Valinauten, schön, dass ihr wieder dabei seid zu Mehr Spaß im Glas. Heute, today, it's gonna be an English one, parce que je parle français, mais je parle français comme une vache espagnole. And next to me is Véronique Sanders, the directrice of Château Haut-Bailly, un grand cru classé, sur la région de Pessac-Léognan. Un vin que j'adore et j'aime bien, mais now we speak in English. Leonie, thank you for doing this with me, this little tasting. This is there's a lot of, this basically is your work. We started today with the 1998 and we finished with the 2012 in barrel. That's 15 vintages consecutive. How did it all started with Haut-Bailly?
Well, it's 15 vintages. It's a small quantity in the history of a vineyard like Haut-Bailly because it exists many centuries. Mm-hmm. But 15 vintages, it starts to be important in the life of an owner. Mm-hmm. And 98 is actually the year that Bob Wilmers, the current owner of Haut-Bailly, purchased the vineyards. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was nice to have a vision of the progression, the style, and all the work we've been doing during these 15 years.
Well, in the past, your family has owned, your grandfather has owned this place with his family, and then you became basically the managing director. What has been the beauty of Haut-Bailly in the past, and what have you changed ever since the beginning of 1998? Because there was a big change, I think.
Well, I'm the fourth generation of the previous family owning it, it's true. Mm-hmm. But I started to run Haut-Bailly for Bob Wilmers, mm-hmm. and our objective or target was to keep the style mm-hmm. of Haut-Bailly, for mm-hmm. which Haut-Bailly was famous. Mm-hmm. That means elegance, balance, mm-hmm. Very charming wine, very precise wine, but to keep the style, but to gain in precision, to gain in density, and to constantly be at the top quality.
Okay, so freshness. What makes the freshness of Haut-Bailly? What's the terroir, the soil? I know a little bit, but I'm trying to get it out from you.
The terroir is unique here. It's 30 hectares around the chateau mm-hmm. in one block, and it never changed size in 4 centuries, which mm-hmm. is really something fantastic. Mm-hmm. And we have a majority of Cabernet Sauvignon. We also have Merlot, Cabernet Franc, a little bit of Petit Verdot, and all the grape varieties of Bordeaux. And we like to harvest very early the Merlot to keep this freshness, mm-hmm. this fruitiness, this crackiness of the fruit. But we like to harvest very late the Cabernet in order to have very silky tannins. Mm-hmm. And that's a bit of the secret of our wine at Haut-Bailly.
And I understand you're on the top of the hill, which is very good for the natural drainage.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Being on the top of the hill with 48 meters high gives you a natural inclination, and you always have some wind, and the rain goes down, so it's something unique.
So now we will taste 3 vintages, because we cannot show all of them, and I think what the idea was to show you 3 different vintages of Haut-Bailly, also how you have been slowly evolving the quality and maybe did little changes if you have done at all. But starting with the 1998. So this is the old label, as you can see. Pessac-Léognan, Château Haut-Bailly, Grand Cru Classé de Grave. At that time, still. 1998, where is it? I find it here. It seems like, if I look at the color, it's already, let's say, losing. It's not fading, but it's losing. Still has a lot of ruby in the, not purple, but a lot of ruby in the middle. As you can see, maybe it's not an overly concentrated wine in color, but it's a very generous color. So 1998, that was your first vintage?
First vintage, and I remember it was the best Merlot we ever did. Mm-hmm. Was sitting outside of the cellar in the evening, and we had the aromas of the fruit coming out. We were drinking the juice of the Merlot every day to enjoy mm-hmm. it. And we put all the Merlot in this wine, so we have 41% Merlot in this blend. Mm-hmm. The rest is Cabernet Sauvignon. And that year we also made beautiful Cabernet Sauvignon. It's also being the first year that Bob Wilmers owned the chateau. We've been very careful with the selection, and we declassified.
So new boss kind of.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's show him what we can do.
Yeah. For me, it's it's a very successful vintage. It's a vintage which will compete with 2000 probably. So it's starting to be a bit mature, and it gives you lots of pleasure right now.
What I like about it, if you intend to drink this, I mean, you probably find it at a good price somewhere. Here at the Château, not, that's for sure. Here you have to pay a little bit more, but maybe in Germany, in Switzerland, I've seen it in some shelves. Sometimes you're lucky. And what I like about it, it's really in its secondary phase now. It's less fruit driven. It's a wine which is more spicy. You find a lot of licorice, which we discussed, cigar box, and we find some dry fruit, but herbal character. And what I like about it, when you drink it, it has a beautiful texture. It's not too dry from the tannins, and still you get a good length, and there's a good freshness to this.
Absolutely. Freshness is really the hallmark of Haut-Bailly. Freshness and balance, which makes the drinkability in a wine. You know, it's you want to drink it, the two of you, and finish the bottle and open another one.
Well, but we talk a lot. I mean, nowadays a lot of things are being discussed about Bordeaux, drinking earlier, whatever. But I mean, maybe there are wines which you can drink now earlier. But I think if you really want to enjoy a glass of wine, this is something which really makes fun and makes sense with food. This is really how I like to drink Bordeaux at the most. And I really congratulate you on this wine, because it's a wine which I think has the balance and well, freshness, one thing, because you always, since I know you were always talking about freshness and you know, but at the time people were looking for bigger wines.
Yes.
That was an art to, let's say, you probably didn't get the points, the scores in those days, and now I think it's changing a little bit. I mean, even the big guys are changing now, shifting towards a more elegant style. With this one, probably how much Parker points or points did you get at all? Do you know this?
I don't remember, but it's true that you have to keep your soul and not follow any fashion, because you know we are making wines that will age, that will sometimes go through a century, and if you follow the fashion goes and your wine is still there. So if you're a reference, you should stay a reference and keep doing what you know and what you like to drink.
Well, and that's very much what you said, only 15 years for you, but I think stylistically what I've seen today is a wine which is never big, it's never rich. It's always a wine which is lean, mineral and crisp.
Well, it's soft and rich at the same time, so you have power but lots of softness. Haut-Bailly is not that lean actually, you really have this power, but the fact the tannins are so precise, so silky, with nothing aggressive, makes you not feel so much the power, I think, but you'll be surprised.
Okay, so we move on to the 2008, which is a turning point in terms of recognition internationally. I mean, we're now going from 1998, and I tell you folks, there are some great vintages in this. I mean, I have a preference on the 205, which is not necessarily Veronique's absolute favor, because she says it's unusual, but what I like about it, hey, you can feel there's power in this wine, it's lasting. We had a remarkable 2001. What I like about the 2002, that many 2002s are really made in a quite mediocre way. This is a great 2002.
Yes, 2002 is an homage to the terroir, and it shows the consistency of Haut-Bailly. You know, to make great wines in 2005, 2009, 10, well, it's easy.
It's not a challenge really.
But to make great wine in off vintages like 2002 is very rewarding actually. And you mentioned 2001, I also love 2006. Both of them are shadowed vintages, and sometimes consumers should have a better look at those vintages.
Well, especially 2001, I think also, because you said also it was a challenging year for you, you changed cellar master, so I think this must be like you're going to be babies here, huh? 15 of your babies
15
sitting
of my
here.
babies already.
plus the one you got at home. So coming to the 2008, to me there's a wine which is now, we're really going away from the secondary flavors. If you really like to drink your Bordeaux very young, this is probably it, but to me you should wait for this wine for sure. It has a lot of flavor, it's a lot of flesh to the bone, another overlooked vintage.
Yes, 2008 for me is a big success of Haut-Bailly. Everybody's talking about 2009, 10 being a duo. I would say Haut-Bailly has a trio, including 2008. What I love in 2008 is that after we finished all the investment, the renovation, the putting the details next to each other, the 2008 exploded, you know, everything showed up in the 08, and there is a precision, a density, a purity in the 08 that I love. I love this purity. I wish I can do that every year.
No, what I like about it, I mean, if you really go for the fruit flavors, you find them. You certainly find them here. Less the spices, here you find really some prune, a more fig kind of, a richer kind of fruit. What I like about it is you always keep the balance with the acidity. It's always it's a good balance in this wine. So very much overlooked, 08, and I think the first vintage where you really received the big points.
We got fantastic points for the 08, and we got fantastic points from everybody, which was amazing. It was kind of everybody agreed.
It was
obvious. It was obvious that this wine was a big wine.
Well, and well, in terms of points, how important are they for the recognition? To be honest.
To be honest, who doesn't like to be loved?
Okay.
If you work hard, you love to be well rewarded. And every year we start the year thinking we are going to make the best vintage ever, the best wine of the century. And at the end of the day, you make the wine that the natural or God will let you do. So when you have the feeling that everybody loved what you've been doing, it's always fun.
It explains a lot, because a lot of people still think it's only for the points are only for the money and for getting a better price. You've been quite modest with your prices over the years.
Yeah, no,
I followed it. But some people have been only working for the points, and then they give up what they...
No, I think every year we work to do the best wine ever, and we work for quality, we work for consumers, we work for people who love to drink wine, and we love to please them. And then if you have good scores, it's something
it just helps. It just helps. It's a turbo kind of thing. So we are now jumping from 08, beautiful vintages of 09, 010, which is super wines, 09, which is a bit more creamy and richer. The 010 to me, wow. That's one of the most fantastic wines for myself on the table, because I think everything is there. 11 is a very overlooked wine, I think. It's and another thing, I think Haut-Bailly is very good in off vintages. Here's another example. And now we're coming to 012, which is a wine which still has to be sold.
The Last Baby.
The Last Baby. Tell us about 012.
The Last Baby is always the best one, of course. The 012 has a wonderful balance again, a freshness, and you were talking about fruits. This is a superb fruit, especially at the moment. It will be bottled in 1 year time, but it's a wine I really trust. No, it's a great wine.
What I think, if you want to experience like something like a barrel tasting once from 1998 to the 208 to coming to this wine, I pick a lot of floral flavors in it. I don't pick a lot of oak in it at the moment. It's more the fruit flavors. It's not overdone with the oak. I think it's another thing to Haut-Bailly. And what I like about it is you can smell a lot of intensity in this wine. So I don't want to be too brown-nosing here, but I have to say, that's some 15 really beautiful wines. What I like about it is, like, let's say, how you maintain it. And there is some preference really on certain vintages, but on a glance I have to say, this for Haut-Bailly has been a remarkable 15 years.
Thank you, Hendrik.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Veronique, for your work and for keeping the faith and really making this happen. I mean, this cellar in 1998, where we're sitting now, didn't exist at that time, no? This part?
Not this room, but the cellar was there.
And ever since, I mean, please go here, and I think you have a great hospitality.
We'd love to receive you, absolutely.
Try to get an appointment with Veronique, one of the most charming wine personalities in Bordeaux. I say thank you very much, and thanks for making us happy with good wine, Veronique.
Vielen Dank, Hendrik.
Gern geschehen. Oh, la, la. Jetzt müssen wir ausschalten. Now we need to switch off.